Portfolios can give you a really good chance to showcase your work and your personality at a really quick glance. The right one might even land you your dream job or your dream project, but just the thought of creating a portfolio can be really scary and overwhelming, so I am here to break it down into actionable steps. Step 1 is deciding what your portfolio will be about. The first question you have to ask yourself is, what type of work should I put in my portfolio? Well, you have to make the work that you want. If you want to attract illustration jobs, make illustrations. You can get really specific about the kind of work that you're looking for. For example, if you're interested in editorial illustrations, find other artists who have created editorial illustrations that you like. Study their portfolios, reach out to them, and start creating illustrations that you can imagine in an editorial piece. For several years now, I've wanted to make a book cover, so I've made a lot of concept book covers over the years just to prove that I can do it, and eventually I did actually design a book cover. I also designed a book cover this year, but it won't come out until next year, so I'm slowly getting there. If you don't fully know the answer to this question yet, just start trying a little bit of everything. Web design, logo design, brand design, motion design. There are a lot of sites full of inspiration to browse through, like Arena, Cosmos, and Pinterest. Take the time to explore what you like and get real about what you want to pursue. What I'm about to say is really important and it might seem very obvious, but do not display work that you actually have no interest in doing. When I was in college, I would put up any design work I made because I thought it showed range. I had a bunch of UI UX work in my portfolio and people started asking me for help with their websites and their apps, and I realized I actually didn't really want to do that as a main service. I also wasn't very good at it, and I think it didn't show range, it just showed that I was bad at something. So figure out the work that you want to showcase, figure out the work that you actually want to do in real life, and that is a great starting point. Once you figure that out, it's time to move on to step 2, which is choosing what makes the cut. I think it's kind of hard because as a designer or as a creative, all of your projects are kind of your babies, so it's hard to pick which ones will end up in your portfolio and which ones don't because you're a little bit more biased about it. My portfolio focuses on brand design, so I have all of my work separated into projects on the homepage, but how you lay out your portfolio depends on what kind of designs you do. Some designers like to make different tabs for different work, like merch design, brand design, illustrations. The most important advice that I can give when it comes to picking projects to feature is just quality over quantity. Attention spans are really short. Realistically, that recruiter or that art director or that potential client is only going to spend like 30 seconds on your portfolio tops before deciding whether they want to look further or just move away completely. So make sure your best work is on top and make sure your website is easy to navigate and click through. I personally really don't like the parallax scrolling effect because I think it makes websites hard to scroll through. I'm also just not a fan of effects that make it so that your website takes forever to load. I want to be able to go through each project easily and get to where I want to go. Personally, when you're starting out, I think the sweet spot is anywhere between 4 to 6 projects, but if you have less than that, don't feel the need to fill up the space with mediocre ones. I'd rather have 2 really good projects in my portfolio than 4 okay ones. I also want to take a moment to say that concept projects are 100% okay in my opinion, especially if you're a student or you're just starting out. Do not freak out if you don't have any real life work yet. There are many personal projects that I'm really proud of that have landed me real life design work. I think good is good, and if you are really passionate about something you made, it'll show. Step 3 is designing the actual site, and for this, I'm gonna get really serious. Now, there are many different sites to get you started. Squarespace is really well known because it's pretty easy to use without knowing how to code and has a lot of customizable templates. There are also platforms like Framer. I really like it because it allows for very high level customization and personalization if you really want to get creative with it. I also really enjoy ReadyMag for the same reason. You get a lot of customization, especially if you love animations. The website examples I've seen on ReadyMag are super fun. I've been using Squarespace for several years. My website has a pretty clean and simple layout. However, I also recently put in a play tab where I can put some of my posters and fun personal work, and that page is a template that I used in Framer. I've worked on websites on each of these platforms, and I think they all do a really decent job. It's just really dependent on what you are personally looking for. I also want to take a moment to talk about the importance of personal branding, because once you understand your own brand, you'll have a much better idea of how you want your portfolio to look. Personal branding can be as simple or as intricate as you want it to be, but it should be a reflection of you and the type of vibe that you want to give off, whether it's clean and sleek or fun and playful. So pick out the 1 to 2, maybe 3 fonts that you'll be using for your header and your body copy, and maybe pick out a color or 2 that you want to use on your website. I personally went for a very clean website layout because I think my work already has a lot of loud colors and fonts, so my actual site is pretty simple because I didn't want the layout competing with the brand projects, but many designers do a really beautiful job of mixing the two. I know there's a lot of free will here, but don't overthink it. Ideally, you're gonna keep evolving and your personal branding will change right there with you. Nothing is really permanent. You can always change your portfolio if you don't like it, so just go with what feels right to you. If you really don't know where to start, I love looking at other sites for inspiration. I used to go on Typewolf all the time. That doesn't exclusively feature portfolios, it just features cool websites. I also really like the site ilovecreatives.com. They have like a site of the week section, and you can also filter by portfolio or whatever else. Framer, ReadyMag, Squarespace also have sample portfolios on their websites as well. Step 4 is actually building out each project. When you are explaining your projects, keep it straightforward. Answer the basic questions like, what was the brief? What is this company? What was the goal? What did you do? Who did you do it with? Credit anyone else that you might have worked with, like photographers or other designers. You don't want to be like super misleading and take credit for the entire thing. When it comes to presenting your work, and especially for like brand designers or merch designers or anything a little bit more physical, mock-ups are a game changer. I think it really helps to present your work professionally. I really love looking at how studios and agencies present their case studies because they kind of like do it across different mediums. They have mock-ups for web design, merch design, poster design. I feel like when you use different mock-ups and different environments, it really brings the work and the idea to life. I actually have a tutorial on how to use mock-ups, so if you're interested in that, you should check that out. Mock-ups are especially great if you don't have a photography studio or like professional photos for your brand. But if you do have professional photos for your brand, that's amazing. You should definitely include those. I actually updated my portfolio really recently just to prepare for this video, and I finally made a case study on Lentiful, one of my projects that I did a few years back. So let's do a quick breakdown of that, just so that you can really understand what I mean. As you can see, we have my Figma file. I have built out everything in my portfolio here. This is the real file that I used. It's very messy. I really like using Figma for this, mainly because it doesn't really crash when I have all of these super high resolution photos that take up a lot of space. It's really easy to move things around and change up the dimensions, and it's nice having everything in one place where I can kind of just like look at it and see how everything's looking in relation to each other. I've used Figma to build out my portfolio for years, and I really like it, and it's free. So try it out. Let's walk you through Lentiful. It is an instant lentil brand. It is made by one of my favorite clients in the world, Ben Bacon. I did the branding, the packaging, and the website design, as well as like social media design. So this was a pretty meaty project. I also did this literally years ago, and I'm updating it now. So don't feel bad if your portfolio is outdated. Just take this video as a sign that it's time to update it. So I am starting with this shot. It is one of my favorite shots that came out of this brand. This photo was taken by Garner Studios. They're a photography studio based in Brooklyn, and I found them on Instagram. And Lentiful has worked with them for several shoots. This happens to be just like a flat lay studio shot, but again, you don't need a fancy photography studio to do it for you. I think a really strong mock-up or a super compelling graphic can be a really good hero image as well. Anytime I do a brand, I love creating a set of posters, usually like 8 to 10 posters, just so that it can showcase how the font and the colors and the product packaging or photography all plays together to create one brand identity. So I made a bunch of posters, put them in this little poster mock-up. You can see the little wrinkles, and it's like a wheat paste poster campaign. I think it really brings it to life. As you'll see going down this case study, I've just kind of taken the liberty of mixing in photography and mock-ups and graphics constantly. So here's just another studio shot of the 4 hero products. Then we have a little mock-up of like Instagram stories. I also drew these little guys, so they're fun little illustrations to put in. Lentiful really wanted to position itself as like a really quick, easy, healthy on-the-go lunch that, you know, people people can have in between meetings during work days. So I grabbed a bunch of photos from a photo shoot we did a couple years ago, and they showcase that really well. I also designed the website, so this is like a product page that I did, and you know, if I were to add on to this case study now, I would put this in a mock-up of a laptop or a monitor just to really bring it to life. But you know what, this is good enough for me right now. Again, more graphics. I think this does a really good job of highlighting the illustrations that I did that go on the packaging, and then just pairing it with some strong type that we use in the brand identity occasionally for like headers. More social media mock-ups, more like example Instagram graphics. I was on a social media retainer with Ben for a few years, but honestly, even if I wasn't, I think I still would have done a mock-up like this just to show how the brand can expand beyond just the physical and into the digital. Here I actually paired a product photo with nutrition facts. Surprise, surprise, more studio photos, another kind of nutrition product photo graphic. And then yeah, you kind of get it. You get the gist. Some of these hands were actually my friends who happen to live in New York, and they got to be a part of the photo shoot. So that is something that I always take pleasure in. It's just like a little secret that no one knows about. Here I included like a little sneak peek into the brand book that I designed, and this kind of highlights all of the colors that we have, you know, used and added in this like ever expanding universe that is Lentiful. And I think it showcases just how like bold and bright and vivid the brand is. And then here we just have another good old hero image. And I actually have some photos that I took when I saw Lentiful in Whole Foods for the first time. And I think that adds like a really personal touch. So I might add that into Squarespace as well, because it actually just shows Lentiful in Whole Foods. And I think that's a very like important part of its journey. And I'm just grabbing a brand color just to use for the background of this slide, just so everything feels cohesive. Okay, we're in Squarespace. This is kind of what my page looks like when I'm editing it. As you can see, I've put the hero image here. And then here I have like a little section that just explains what the project is, what services I did, what it's about, and like what the goal was. As far as like actually designing it, it's pretty easy. You can just like put in sections of photos or text or whatever. I'll literally add in that last slide that I talked about of just me and Whole Foods just to show you how easy it is. Here, upload file. Now I'm uploading it. Okay, and there it is. That is just my little last slide of me and Whole Foods. And then I have a little credits section. So I have the photography studio and then the models, and yeah. Pretty easy, pretty simple. Save. Yeah, this is pretty much what it looks like. I have some that I have archived because there were too many projects on here and I feel like they were a little bit outdated. And you know what? I could have taken the Squarespace integration, but I didn't because I wanted to talk about the other websites. So you're welcome. Anyway, that was my little breakdown. I hope you enjoyed it. Some bonus tips. I think the About page is really important. I think it's important to be able to get to know the person behind the work. This is a chance to showcase more of your personality if you didn't do it through the rest of your website design. What do you like to do? What interests you? People like to work with other people that they think they would get along with or feel like they know a little bit better. So having a strong About page can make all the difference between a client choosing you and not. I also have a little inquiry form set up so that it's easier for people to get in touch with me. It also allows me to get some basic information about the project right away, or potentially like field clients who might not be the right fit. I recently put in that play tab I mentioned. I think adding little fun touches or secret pages to your website could be a cool thing to do if you're a playful person like that, but not necessary if you're like a little bit more serious. I think it's very important to pay attention to the little details like the favicon. It's basically that little icon that shows up next to your URL. It could be as simple as like a certain color of a circle, or it can be like a whole brand mark, totally up to you. I hope this helped. Creating a portfolio can be really, really daunting, and I kind of wish I had this advice when I had first started building mine. I've gone through several iterations of my portfolio since then, and I know how hard it is. Even right now, my portfolio has been like this for the last few years, and I'm a little bit sick of it, even though I just updated it. So I don't know, maybe in a future video we'll switch it up and I'll redesign it. Anyway, we are our own worst critics, so try not to overthink it, just start on it little by little. It doesn't have to be like this huge thing that you do in one sitting. You can just do like 20 minutes at a time whenever you have free time and the energy. Slowly but surely you will have a portfolio. I believe in you. You can do it. Thank you so much for watching. I'll talk to you soon. Sending you a big hug.